This is the story how I started making money on my own and becoming friends with money and actually even falling in love with money. And it happened in just 1 year when I went from being broke to making my 2 first investments ever. And believe me, nobody in my family never made investments, so that was a breakthrough. If you're rather uncomfortable in talking about money, please watch this video. I am sure that you're gonna get the support that you need, and you will figure out that if I managed to do it, then you can do it. Because this happened to me in 1 year, and it can happen to you even faster. My name is Katia Kulyk, and I share with you how to find out what you want the most and what is the easiest way of getting it. So a little bit of a background story. I grew up in the 90s in Ukraine after the Soviet Union had just fallen apart, and literally no one in the country had any money back then. That's when I learned that money was unavailable, and I decided that it was hard to get, and I decided that it limited my freedom actually, because I thought that if I had to focus all of my attention on money, then I wouldn't be able to do all the things that I loved. Limiting beliefs. When I grew up and started working, I made just enough money to travel and to feel comfortable, but not more. Finally, in 2018, my partner and I hid away in this beautiful village in the countryside Ukraine, in one of the biggest national parks of Ukraine. And we decided to take a year off from making money, worrying about money, and from work and all the contacts with the outside world. So that's when we lived off our savings. And by the end of the year, I have used up all my 8,000 USD of savings that I had, and I was running out of money, and I literally panicked. The balance was coming to a zero, and I started looking for jobs. And I went on an interview to Chernobyl tours because I live in Ukraine, and my motivation was first, I never went to Chernobyl myself, and secondly, because I could hang out with foreigners and do what I liked the best, to travel and to show my country to other people. But when I came to the interview, these people told me about the schedule that they asked all of their guides to follow, and I was a little bit confused, because I had to be there at 8 a.m. in the morning and I had to leave at 2 p.m. and then I asked them if I could do a 3-day work week, and they said, no, you should only work 5 days a week. So I was like, what? I am not getting another job ever again, unless it's a little bit online and very flexible schedule. So I still remember the day when I went to a restaurant and I was eating there, and I thought that it was literally slavery. And I realized that I never wanted to work for someone like that. So I bought a book right exactly at that point at a restaurant, and that book was about selling, because I had never thought that I could sell or liked selling, and I realized that there was no going back. So step 1 on your path to financial independence is decide that you want financial freedom. If earlier freedom for me was not having to think about money, at that moment I realized that real freedom included financial freedom. And it was November 2019 that I took many uncomfortable decisions and had to change many things inside my mind. And since then, it brought me here today, where I am confident about money, where I am loving it actually, and where I've made more money than I ever made before. Your second step towards financial independence is to define. Well, if you can't decide what is it that you're looking for, then how can you get it? There are 3 terms that I want to share with you. One is financial dependence, financial independence, and financial freedom. Financial dependence is when your spendings are higher than your income and then you create debt. Financial independence is when you start making more money than you spend. So it means your income is higher than your spendings. In this case, you manage to create some savings. So when I first offered my services to someone, which also happened in 2020, and I got a part-time job, I became a financially independent person. Now, financial freedom is the thing that I want the most that I haven't created yet. So financial freedom is when your passive income will cover all of your costs of living, which means you never have to work anymore. In the book by Bodo Schäfer called The Dog Named Money, he suggested this equation. You imagine the amount of money that you would like to have as a passive income per month, and then you multiply it by 150. And that is going to be your capital of investment that you want to have diversified in different places and invested. And once you reach it, that means you have created your own financial independence. Step 3, get support. And that's a very important step. When I was completely broke and I made my decision to create financial freedom, I had nowhere to go because nobody in my family had this experience and not many of my friends invest either. So I found a person who facilitated a cash flow game, and this woman taught an investment course which I had signed up to. I had so much resistance. In her course, she had these lessons, like 4 lessons that were called blocks, like block 1, block 2, and I literally felt that I was breaking through some of my blocks because I never learned any of those things about money. So I learned about personal finance, I learned about budgeting and basic investment strategies. At the same time, she introduced me to a Ukrainian company that tried to help any Ukrainian family create their own investments. And this company sounded like a good place for me to go. And I also worked with my life coach who supported me in my project called Falling in Love with Money. And basically what I was doing is changing my mindset from a mindset of a person who didn't like money and who thought money was taking away her freedom to a mindset of a person who loves making money. So remember to get support. Get support. Step 4, make your first investment. And if it hadn't been for my life coach, I probably wouldn't have invested at all. But then I gathered all of my mental power and then I went and invested $3,000 into ETFs and $2,000 into cryptocurrency just to start with. I remember it was September. I remember that my mom and my dad and my boyfriend were really skeptical about this. And by now I can share with you my first results. So in my ETF investment, I lost 70 USD and I withdrew my money. And I was so happy that I wasn't sad about it because it was my first investment and I paid 70 USD for the experience, and that was actually pleasant somehow. And then I found out this January that I had made 2,500 USD off of my cryptocurrency investments, which I had paid 500 USD to the trading company who supported me. And now I have $2,000, which feels incredible and amazing. And we're going to use this money to buy our house in the countryside. So if you want to hear about that story, please sign up to this channel, subscribe, and you're going to get the stories of how we bought our Ukrainian house for Bitcoins. And step 5 to financial independence, that's create your financial plan and your strategy of achieving it. Okay, so I have to admit that I'm still halfway through this plan and I really need help and support. So it's really important to have a goal when you're creating your financial plan. So I really want you to take away from this video the amount of money that you want to create in investments that is going to fire you up, that is going to motivate you to create your financial freedom. So imagine that you can just save like 10% of your income and put it into your investments, and then 10 years after you can retire and you can do whatever you wish. You can travel and you can change the world, you can impact the world, you can go snorkeling, you can work even more, and finally you can maybe even take those ballet classes or go to Bali. So I hope that my story inspired you. I really love working with money blocks. For me, it's a very important topic because I have managed to break them inside my mind and change my thinking patterns. And I really love working with people and help them understand how illusionary their money blocks are. So in case you want to work with me one-on-one and you want to sign up to one-on-one coaching, please subscribe under this video. There's my website. Subscribe to my newsletter. That's also where you will get invitations to my Zoom meditations twice a month. It was Katia all the way from Ukraine with you, and see you next week.